This is Telemirror's Beyond the Press podcast, where we bring you conversations with people who shape our daily news cycle. I'm Shehan Daniel, and joining me today is Mikael Svensson, the Chief Executive Officer of Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts, to talk to us about cinnamon life at City of Dreams, Sri Lanka, and also talk to us a bit about tourism and his thoughts on where tourism will go moving forward. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us and also for hosting us in this space.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Sean. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Let me start by asking you, how are you?
Good.
Seeing this project finally coming to life, what would you say is your overriding emotion?
Yeah, I think, Sean, I've been on this project since I arrived over 5 years ago. And when I arrived, it certainly didn't look anything like this. And this really is the first time we sit down and have an interview as such at Cinnamon Life. So that's quite emotional in itself, to be able to sit here in this amazing space. Obviously, a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and emotions have gone into this build, and so many hundreds and thousands of people that we've worked with and dealt with to get to this stage. It's certainly very emotional. It's an emotional ride, which really, having opened a few hotels in my career, and as I say to everybody, especially those that haven't had this opportunity, is really cherish these last few days, because for most people, they only come around once. And certainly a project like Cinnamon Life is certainly probably will only come around once.
Before we get into the project itself and talking about what people can expect out of it, I'm curious to know, how did you end up in Sri Lanka and become a part of Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts? What's your backstory?
Yeah, well, I've kind of I'm almost like a nomad of the world. I come from Sweden originally. I left at an early age, and grew up in Asia. I actually grew up in Thailand. My father was in the airline business, and I lived there for a good 10 so years. And I knew at an early age that I wanted to get into hospitality. So, finishing off everything that you had to do with education and so forth, I moved out and started my career in Asia. Brought me through Asia, Australia, and the Middle East. And then finally, I was working for a company where we were doing some management consultancy in Sri Lanka. And as on one of my trips here, I met with the John Keel's team and the Cinnamon team. And I suppose, as I say, the rest is history. So yeah, it's been a great journey.
Obviously, there are a lot of experience that you bring to this project. What would you say is something that you have learned as a person or as a leader or as a CEO from seeing this project come to life?
I think first and foremost, I would say anything is possible. Sri Lanka did not, prior to Cinnamon Life, did not have the platform for $1 billion investment integrated resort on the world stage like this. I think most places you would kind of graduate into something like this. You wouldn't throw this as your first big investment into real, true, high-end international hospitality. So for me, it was what I really learned is that anything is possible with the right kind of passion and the right kind of drive. And I think I have also learned another level of resilience, and this comes not only from my experience through being the CEO of Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts, but having arrived here just after the Easter bombings and then seen COVID and then the economic crisis that we've gone through, the extraordinary resilience that people have both on a personal level and professional level has just given me an extraordinary sense of what people are able to do when everybody comes together. And yeah, this is proof in the pudding for sure.
Yeah, I think you've had quite a few challenges. Like you said, the Easter Sunday bombings, then you had obviously COVID, then the financial crisis. How would you describe Sri Lanka as a tourist destination compared to some of the other cities that you've been privileged to work in?
I think, Sean, Sri Lanka is one of those hidden jewels, and it surprises me that it still is. I'm very excited that it is, because I can see the future of what Sri Lanka has. The natural habitat, the environment in which is offered in Sri Lanka You don't need to do anything with it, from the beaches to the mountains to the cities to the excitement to the food to the culture to the art. It's all there. Nothing has to be created to tap into that. And that was what tourism is all about. And I think also tourism as we sit today and of the future is very much about ecotourism, experiential tourism. And Sri Lanka has that, doesn't have to do much to sit in that category. So I think that the future is immensely bright for Sri Lanka, for us to be able to be recognized as a world tourist destination, but hopefully maintain the authenticity and the sincerity of the people of Sri Lanka, because that is something where you need to gauge how far do you push it, because you do see countries where tourism has kind of outdone the authenticity of the country, and the focus is primarily on tourism, and then you forget that authenticness that brought people there in the first place. So I really, really hope that, because I know that Sri Lanka will just boom in years to come, that we kind of can maintain that.
There's a lot of optimism that tourism can reach the levels that it was before COVID, before the financial crisis. Obviously, this year we've seen the numbers increase. The last few months, obviously, with the whole visa issue, there's been a bit of a decline. But is it fair to say that you're also optimistic that tourism can reach those levels anytime soon? And also, is it as simple as saying that just because you have more tourists coming to Sri Lanka, that means that the occupancy levels at cinnamon hotels and resorts would also go up?
Yes and no. They do obviously go hand in hand to a certain degree, but it depends where tourism comes from. It's not just about arrivals, but if we take a bit of a back step here and look at the opportunities that are at hand for Sri Lanka, and we kind of look into another country which has had huge successes like Vietnam. Now, Vietnam in the 2007, 2008 had about 4.3 million arrivals. That is obviously double the amount that we've had in our best years of 18, 19, but still not huge numbers, right? And the growth that it saw over essentially 10, 12 years, reaching its peak just before COVID to about 18 million arrivals into Vietnam, not doing much. But what did they do? And how did they do it? With essentially 4 areas of focus. One is to ensure there is international recognition of the destination. That's absolutely critical, and Vietnam did that in a big way, just again promoting what it had at its doorstep. The other area is infrastructure, being set up and ready for numbers that will double and triple, which I have no doubt will happen in Sri Lanka with the right focus. And then having the right kind of government intervention and government focus to drive. And then obviously the business development and the economic development of the country is there. So these 4 areas helped Vietnam go from 4 million to 18 million in essentially 10 years, and with a similar kind of offering. And I believe that Sri Lanka has absolutely the same ability to do so with this. And I think we're at the cusp of this right now. Let's hope there's no more real bumps in the road, and that we can really focus our attentions onto this. And it's absolutely necessary, because if we look at just before COVID, tourism was about 12-13% of the total GDP of Sri Lanka, about $4.5 billion. So and that's going to grow, and that's a big number when you look at total GDP when it comes to tourism. So it is critically important that we put that focus on to arrivals coming in. The second question you have is, will arrivals, does that mean more occupancy? Obviously it does, but where we need to ensure is that we establish Colombo as a gateway city and a real solid city for the country. And that's something perhaps we haven't had in Sri Lanka, where people have been coming here and essentially going to the coast or going in the round trips. And we've been promoting that and saying, what does Sri Lanka have over countries? Well, in 1 week, you can go to all of these places, which is an amazing, amazing strength to have. However, having said that, that's not necessarily how every traveler travels. Not everybody goes to a country, say Thailand as an example, and you don't go around and go to Bangkok and Phuket and Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai and Hua Hin and Krabi. You don't do that. You go essentially usually to the city, Bangkok, and then you may go to Krabi or Hua Hin or Phuket or whatever it is. So I think we need to have a focused approach, a diverse approach, but a focused approach as to how we want tourists to see and recognize Sri Lanka. And that's why Cinnamon Life is here, to really establish the country and the city, the capital, as a business hub, as a tourism hub, and as a place that holds the whole country together and can represent the country in a better way.
The reason I ask you that question also is because it's something very, very much in line with what you were saying just now, that you get this perception that not every tourist or not every tourist arrival is a person who is willing to spend top dollar on their holiday. You also have, I think there's also a perception that a lot of the people who come, or more of the people who are coming now are either digital nomads or people who are looking for budget travel options, or maybe foreigners just trying to start their own businesses here. So in that context, do you feel like Sri Lanka has properly positioned itself to achieve what you're saying, to grow the way Vietnam has grown, or does there need to be maybe a different approach?
I think first of all, there needs to be an approach, first and foremost. Okay. There needs to be an approach, a vested approach to really promoting the country and everything that it has, and being very tactful about what the message is. Because somebody who doesn't know anything about Sri Lanka or hasn't chosen Sri Lanka as a tourist destination for vacation or as investment or for business, if you throw everything at it, there's a lot of confusion. Your message needs to be very clear. And as I said earlier, it's great that we have these buckets to choose from, whether it's safari or whether it's beach, but to throw everything at it and say, this is why you should come because we have everything. But everything doesn't resonate with everybody. But aspects of that does. And so I think that's the approach that we have to take, is to really have a focused approach towards the message that we essentially give to the people that are coming to the country.
How would you describe what Cinnamon Life is?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is absolutely, it's the largest private investment project ever in any category in Sri Lanka, and it would be up there in amongst any investment anywhere in the world. Not a lot of billion-dollar plus hotels that come up, so we should be very proud that we are have invested and are doing something that is already at the world stage from that perspective. I think Cinnamon Life, when we looked at this, Shehan, from the outset, we never looked at it, and I certainly didn't look at it from what can we achieve with Cinnamon Life at that time for Cinnamon Hotels and Resorts. It was obvious this was going to be a flagship and is going to push our brand into other areas and investors that will see the brand essentially very differently. But for me and for us, it was about how do we ensure that this investment can catapult Sri Lanka to another level, especially with investments and business and confidence into the country and interests from a tourism perspective. So, this really is an iconic build in a city that for many is unknown, and it will, we've already seen through the marketing campaigns and what we've done in going to various shows around the world, people are just amazed at how is this project coming up in Colombo and in Sri Lanka. So I think we are in for a really wild and crazy ride, of huge interest. And I think our tourism numbers, not because of coming to Cinnamon Life, but because the back end of what we can do through promoting Cinnamon Life and our brand. And we have a responsibility because we are the biggest, hotel company in Sri Lanka. So we absolutely have a responsibility to take that mantle and run with it. And hopefully we get everybody else behind us to drive that. So it's very, very exciting, absolutely.
How would you position Cinnamon Life? To what market would you say you're catering to?
I mean, first and foremost, when City of Dream comes on board, this will be a top 10 size casino in the world. That says a lot. Casinos are big.
Yeah.
So the fact that we will, I think, will be 8th, 9th, 10th largest casino in the world when everything is done. You don't put an investment into that if your target market isn't going to be driving from that.
Mm.
And so we're positioned perfectly in South Asia because they don't have casinos of that level and that size in this area. So obviously there is a very big market, and that big market is coming from India.
Right.
But even other areas such as China and Singapore that have that sort of gaming side to it. Then India is an existing market, but so is Europe, and continuing to develop those areas. There's no need for us to be looking at markets that don't exist.
Yeah.
Let's just enhance and focus on those that do exist, and sort of further strengthen that. So definitely India is a very important market for us, as well as throughout Europe and China. And Russia now in the last few years has obviously seen a huge increase. And that alone shows you that, when Russia became a big market for us because of the war and so forth, and that hasn't dropped down, but what it did was it introduced Sri Lanka to Russia. And essentially now this is one of the biggest markets in the country. So it's proof in the pudding that you just need to introduce it to the markets, and they will continue to grow.
What would you say in terms of for locals, what can they expect from Cinnamon Life?
Yeah, I think the culture of and the vibe and the excitement of Colombo doesn't go unnoticed even before Cinnamon Life has opened, and so that sort of natural food and bar and excitement, entertainment aspect of the city is there, and I think they will be loving what they see here. We have 15 plus restaurants and bars offering so many different aspects of food, wine, and entertainment that I think that people will definitely welcome it. I hope that what we want to do, and especially because also we have other properties, Cinnamon Grand, Lakeside, and Red here, we want to make sure that we don't cannibalize business from them, nor do we want to do that with the rest of Colombo either. So we were very careful about the concept and what we were bringing to the table to ensure that we strengthen what is already there and not overtake what is already there. So we're really excited about people coming to see something that they have never seen before, and I say that because I've never seen anything like this before. So, and I've seen a few things. So this is definitely something which will open a lot of eyes with great excitement, I'm sure.
What do you think would be the biggest selling point for people who come here once, to want to come here again, especially catering to people in the local market, given the everything that the country has been through, and I think people are still going through some of the pains of the economic crisis. What do you think Cinnamon Life offers them that will want them to come back?
You mean for locals, for Sri Lankans? Look, I think, and I do want to say that, again, I mentioned resilience, and obviously there's been tough times, and there still is. So I understand that, in the midst of this, opening $1 billion luxury hotel is not timely for everyone. But hopefully it'll bring a lot of joy. And I think it will bring a lot of relief to a lot of people just simply being in and around the environment. We don't expect every person that walks through the door here to have to essentially come and wine and dine in all the areas, but just to be able to come around and look at the art and see the beautiful spaces and get a sense of freedom or a sense of excitement or energy that comes. So I think that why will people come back? Because to see all aspects of this hotel. I did a walk around this morning, as I've done many times, and that kind of was a very focused, go one place to the next, and it took me a good 2.5 hours. And that's sort of non-stop, showing people around and looking at the spaces and explaining and so forth and so on. So it's a museum. It's a place to come and enjoy yourself. It's a place to relax. It's hopefully a place for those that are so inclined to come and have a nice staycation and feel like you're in a different place. And come, as the slogan is, come back for more. And I think Cinema Life will definitely do that for people for different things. So that's very exciting to see.
If I was to ask you, what is, in your opinion, the long-term vision for tourism in Sri Lanka and South Asia as a whole? Because I believe that there are some hotels in the Maldives also. Is there plans to expand that?
Yes, absolutely. I think that we wouldn't be investing in $1 billion project to stand still. That was never the intention from the beginning, and certainly not into the future. We do believe that this will create a lot of excitement for investors in the future. And we want investors to come to want to bring cinnamon to their destinations. Essentially, I think that is how you should organically grow a brand and a hotel brand, and especially a hotel brand like Cinnamon that is homegrown and authentic. And our vision is to bring the best of Sri Lanka to the world with style and elegance, and we want to do that with great partners that come and realize, wow, what this amazing brand can do on its home soil, and why not want to bring that to other destinations. And so we definitely believe that this is the beginning of expanding out into other areas in South Asia and beyond. Maldives, obviously, we have 4 properties there, and it's a very important market for us. Naturally, because a lot of people come to Sri Lanka to go to the Maldives. Many people come here as a stopover to go to Maldives. Maldives is the reason why they're coming to this part of the world. So hopefully we'll become much more sort of part of their travels when they go to the Maldives, that they want to spend more time in Sri Lanka. So that was a natural thing for us to have a portfolio of great hotels in the Maldives. But certainly India and beyond, where our neighbors in India and beyond, there is no reason, and we will bring this brand to the world, no doubt.
What do you hope Cinnamon Life, how do you hope it impacts Colombo, the city of Colombo, and Sri Lanka in general?
I think Cinnamon Life, first and foremost, I believe it'll give it like a multiplier effect, especially in so many different areas, whether it be hotels, whether it be transportation, whether it be real estate, all of these areas that touch hospitality. So I think that will be something that definitely will benefit everyone. As I said before, we're not here to cannibalize every other hotel, because we are looking at being part of driving numbers, similar to what I just mentioned about in Vietnam. And so you need to have more hotels to do that. Currently, we have about 25% of the market in Colombo, and that's a lot for one brand to have. So we are obviously hoping all of these various projects that have maybe been on a standstill, and other brands that they should all come. The more brands that come, the more high-end brands that come. And if we can really develop truly a 5-star and a 4-star and a 3-star market, that will benefit everybody. And I think that we certainly will ensure that we drive that higher end of that market to establish a really solid foundation for 5 stars, as we've seen with some hotels that have opened in the recent past. So the more the merrier, I say.
My final question, Mikael, you've shared about what Cinnamon Life is and what people can expect. What is one experience you are most excited for people to to enjoy?
Oh, one experience, gosh. I think that I had a very prominent businessman coming into the property today to have a look, and we stood at a space. We stood at the cantilever, and we have 3 cantilevers that go out from the building. 2 of them has a event space, and then we also have a champagne cocktail bar. And he turned to me and he just said, my friends are simply just going to say awe. And I don't think that this gentleman knew about our campaign, which is, where awe awaits. But when we spoke about it and how we want to explain it, we had so many different words that we wanted to sort of use: excitement, this, that, and the other. But in the end of the day, we said awe, because I think it is awe. It is awe-inspiring. It is awe-exciting. It is just absolutely extraordinary. And I think especially in a setting like this. But you could take this, and I have been in this business for well over 30 years, and I've been very fortunate to open and be a part of some of the best hotels in the world. And I can say you can lift this up and put it anywhere in the world, and the word awe would continue to be the one experience that I think anybody and everybody would say as they would come in to kind of express their sense at that moment. So absolutely, awe is my own experience, and I hope that's what everybody else is going to experience as well.
Thank you for your time, Mikael.
Thank you, Shahan.
Once again, very busy period for you, but you've taken the time to speak to us, and we appreciate that.
Great.
To our viewers and our listeners, we thank you for joining us, and we will see you in our next episode.